Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 12 of What If Naruto Was a Legendary Neglected Uzumaki. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Neglected with Jushin sealed inside of him over on Anime King 3, and enjoy that guys. And also I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Abandoned and Awakened a Kikikenkai over in Making 2. So go ahead and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, as Naruto was currently on a mission, which he was returning back with Hana. After they dealt with all the ninjas, Kurosaki went back towards the village as she informed her grandfather as she saw some flaws in Naruto's movements and his attack. But yet in beating him, she saw no way they could do that. So much years has passed and yet they didn't find a way that they could actually take him down. Well, he wasn't known as the second fastest person within Konoha for no reason. Minato had some bad news for Naruto. The sealing core of the Uzumaki clan has been killed. They were already less in number and it was just one sealing core, but they were all wiped out by the Akatsuki. As things were rising up, things were getting bad, as Minato knew that Naruto would deal with it in a bad way even though he looked calm right now. Natsumura went to go and find Naruto, who was already starting to drink as he was at the gravesite. As it seems that Naruto was involved in their sensei's death, as he gave Natsumura money to give to the sensei family. As Naruto picked himself up, it was time that he got drunk. When he got drunk, he was like a completely different person, given the fact that he didn't seem to mind whoever it was that was throwing themselves at him. He would go up on the option no matter what, as he went to the bar where Uncle found him, as she brought Hana with her, as there was some rough guys over there that would take advantage of her if she, got too drunk, so she brought her to stay with Naruto, as Naruto was a good guy after all, Uncle thought. He wouldn't do anything. The next morning, as Naruto woke up to being hit right in the face, slapped right in the face by Kurenai. Him and Kurenai had a thing but she broke up with him. As Hana was in the bed, as Kurenai told him that it would be best if they don't talk to each other for a while and he stay away from Hana. As Naruto simply told her okay. With that he left. Time passed as it was finally Naruto's 18th birthday. It was time for him to take over the clan, as they had to focus on different matters, as the Uzumaki clan took all of the orphanage, and they had a school. Their academy was a lot better than a normal academy. As Naruto greeted everyone there, they were making a rather big deal out of it, as he spoke to Hanabi, and he also spoke to Shikamaru who came, the heirs, towards their clan, as Hinata, the one that he saved, was too weak, he was told, so Hanabi was the one to take over as heir to the clan, as Hayashi called him to have their private talk about some matters. As Naruto wanted to change the agreements, Hayashi didn't want to change that at all, because he already had one, as Naruto had to leave later to go on a mission, and also Mikoto was kind of pressuring Itachi, as she wasn't really doing that, she just wanted to focus on some other things, much like getting married, but he didn't seem to be focused on that right now, as she told Kushina that she didn't have a problem with Naruto and the kind of things that he did, and Mikoto and Naruto were getting rather close. Not even Itachi knew what kind of relationship they had, but when he came by the compound a lot of times, his mother would always talk to Naruto, not to mention he walked her home recently, but Itachi didn't think anything of it. So yeah guys, so basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the place, check out for yourself. So what do you say begin this new episode? What? Said Hayashi. We already have a signed agreement with the previous clan head, said Naruto. Didn't you read the fine print? Your all-seeing eyes should have looked into that. I'm not bound by agreement signed by my predecessor. All contracts are open to review. I cannot annul them though. Why are you doing this? I agree with your mother and father about everything, Aishi said as he narrowed his eyes. You misunderstand me, said Naruto. I'm not saying that we will not follow through with the agreement. I'm saying that we will have to review it. You have to understand that things have changed over the past few years. We're just gonna add a few things, Naruto said in a firm tone. You can have the seals sent over by tonight as a sign of our agreement saying that I'm following through. Aishi nodded. When will we discuss the new terms then? When I return from my mission, said Naruto. Aishi nodded once again as he left, as Izumi entered after him. She sat down beside Naruto and spoke. And the thing she asked. He nodded. Our clan is a little too small though. Our money is made through seals. But with the sealing core gone, we have hit a wall. I have looked at your proposal and I will do something about it. I've also found a new way to make money, he said. How? She asked. We will use the land that we abandoned. Farming will do. And since it is surrounded by sea, hotels will do. We use our control over the sea for fishing. That will generate enough money for us to secure our future. The clan doesn't have enough money for that, Izumi said. Itachi and I have collected bounties for over 100 million in the past few years. It will be a start. Loans will do as well. Something like that will also need ships. Kiri will help. I will get started on the loan, she said. Will you talk to the Mizukage? Naruto nodded as he got to his feet. You handle Inoichi. I'm going to the gravesite, he said. Izumi lips turned into a sad smile. Are you going to see her? As Naruto nodded. It is strange, isn't it? I do not visit my fellow clansmen who were taken down by the Akatsuki. She is not even my family. I think I've gotten Kakashi's habit, said Naruto. That is because you two blame yourself for what happened. Are you sure you want me to see Inoichi's hand? Are you sure it's not somehow... Naruto shrugged. I have already spoken to him before. It should be fine. With that he disappeared in a burst of flames. Time skip. At the academy gates. Naruto was at the gate with Itachi. The both of them were waiting for their younger sibling. It was something that they did when they were in the village. Since their time was limited, they never got much time to spend with their families, so they made use of their time when they have it. I wonder if by the time they get out things will be alright, Naruto said in thought. Unlikely, Itachi said calmly. The Fire Nation is safe, but other nations have increased their presence in their borders in order to corner us. But we have protected our allies through it, and we have stayed strong. The rumors of Kumo and the Stone working together may be true. Given everything that's happened over the years, it may be understandable. Konoha has not grown any weaker by any means. The village may be holding out to avoid war against villages that poke at us day and night. The four Hokage said that Konoha would not start a war, even though they were being provoked to start it. But that didn't mean that they were sitting back as other shinobis attacked their shinobis and watched their borders like hawk. They were defending themselves in such a way that they didn't have to worry about anything. Still, one had to ask how long would they keep at it. Even though Itachi hated war, he understood that things could not be solved lightly and war was on the card. Kumo. I've not had fond memories of that village, said Naruto. Well, you dominated their Chunin exams and brutalized their finalists in the final battle in their own village, Itachi said. You also killed their Jonin commander. Well, that couldn't be helped, said Itachi. That girl was rather skilled. I was a bit ticked off that she forced me to use my jump card, said Naruto calmly. I wonder how she has grown. She still owed me a date. As Naruto completely ignored the part what Itachi said about the Jonin commander, as Itachi shook his head. But the village didn't like him at all, after everything, not to mention after he dominated the exams, and he killed their Jonin commander. It made it even worse. Where the man had come after him, he was defending himself. The right Hokage demanded Naruto's head, but Minato had refused. He would not budge. As the right Hokage blocked all trade route on their side, an angry move on his part to play. Things didn't went better because after that, Naruto went to Kira along with his father and danced on the battlefield. He demonstrated a jutsu that was like his father that made him move like the Harashin. The both of them sweep through the battlefield. When both Kumo and the Stone heard of it, they updated their bingo books rather fast. She's a Jinjulki, you know, Itachi said. And I'm sure after that battle where you humiliate her, she isn't fond of you. Naruto waved his right hand. I have rather good communication skills. I'm sure we can work things out. Itachi shook his head. Big brother! Karen called as she ran towards her brother. As Naruto kneeled down and she ran into his arms as he picked her up. Nico-chan, he said. You're all messy. Did you got into another fight? Kind of, she said quietly. What was it this time, Naruto asked. They were saying bad things about you, big brother. Naruto shook his head. I blame your mother for your violent behavior. But at least, this time, she can't say it's my bad influence. But I'm happy that you protect your big brother, Honor. There was a snort behind them as Sasuke stepped forward. Karen turned. Got something to say, Uchiha, she asked as she glared at him. There isn't much honor to speak about, Sasuke said. They were telling the truth, although it was mixed with a bit of exaggeration. The truth was mixed in as well, he said. I did see it myself after all. Itachi raised an eyebrow. What did you see, Sasuke? He asked. He was being beat up by a woman in black hair in the middle of the street. He just had his pants on alone. And they said that her brother was not as great as everyone thought he was. Itachi turned towards Naruto. Can you sink any lower? That was months ago and it was Kurenai. You know, I haven't been doing anything since, said Naruto. Come on, let me treat you ramen for standing for me, okay? She nodded with a happy smile. As Naruto walked off, Itachi turned. As he held out his hand, Sasuke took it. So, how was the academy today? Time skip, later on. In the Hokage's office. Minato looked toward his son with a smile. Other things aside, Naruto has grown into a fine shinobi, one of the best the village has ever seen. Although he wished Naruto handled his personal life a bit better, it wasn't anything apparent to be proud of. But it was better than insanity. Well, there wasn't really anything Minato could do about it, especially when he couldn't even start the subject. Sorry I couldn't be here earlier, said Minato. With a lot of mission requests, it's harder these days to take time off. Naruto nodded. He understood that he was a shinobi, and he was not blind to everything that was happening. He could even see the mountain of paperwork that the man was dealing with. There was no need for you to be there, said Naruto. Even so, I'm your father. I should have been there, even though I was not needed, said Minato. You do know that taking up the role means that you get a seat in the village council, correct? I wish I did not know, said Naruto. Well, with my shinobi duties, it's not like I'm gonna be forever possible anyway. Possibly, said Minato. Take a seat, Naruto, he said. There's something I have to discuss with you. As Naruto nodded and settled down. How do you even see everything like that? Asked Minato, as Naruto's eyes were barely open. As he decided to get to the subject at hand. Your clan is dying out. You know that, right? Naruto nodded. The loss of a sealing core was unfortunate, and some of our members were killed off when going into the village to handle business. There are just a handful of them left, said Naruto. There is laws in the village that will force you to not let what happened in Senju happen to you. What do you think of Izumi? Naruto tilted his head. What are you getting at, father? He asked. We don't live forever, and no one knows what will happen tomorrow. You should start thinking about marriage. With Izumi, said Naruto. It would preserve the Uzumaki blood. Members has already been arranged, so the Uzumaki blood do not die out in your clan. I'm too young for marriage, said Naruto as he looked up in the ceiling. It's a responsibility and my track record does really make a good candidate for marriage. Before Minato could say anything, there was a knock. As Itachi entered. With Itachi there. Minato got serious. Your mission is to head to the land of hot water. I received a tip from Jiraiya that Orochimaru is heading there with his forces. You two have to make sure he doesn't advance and kill him if the opportunity presents itself. I will not return to the village after the mission, said Naruto. I must head to Kiri, and I have to see Uzu. Why? Minato asked. Clan matters, said Naruto. You know our finances are poor. I have to make a plan to improve that. This trip will help with that. Minato frowned but nodded. But Itachi cannot go. We can't afford the both of you disappearing for too long periods. And you might end up having too much fun in Kiri and forget about your duties. I will return as soon as I can, said Naruto as he stood up. Time skip. Land of hot water. It was currently night. Naruto and Itachi had traveled and made it to the land of hot water during night. The opponent was supposed to cross the border in the early morning, so their mission will begin then. I will secure the perimeter since we don't know if this is a trap or not, said Naruto. Itachi nodded. That will be for the best, he said. We are dealing with Orochimaru, and although Jiraiya information is valuable, sometimes he can be caught up in the enemy's trap as well. Looking at Naruto with his Sharingan, Itachi couldn't understand how he was seen. There was no moonlight right here. The path was dark and yet Naruto's eyes were barely open. It had started when he returned from his mission in Kiri. He had shed blood of about 100 shinobis, and he was only 12. That mission had changed Naruto, and even though Itachi had started out first, he didn't have the same numbers of kills that Naruto had. Would you be able to navigate? Itachi asked. Know that Naruto had to see to set the perimeter. I'm used to this, so it will be fine, said Naruto as he created 5 clones, as each clone disappeared in different direction. He then took a few steps away from Itachi as he pulled out a kunai of his own. As he stabbed it in the ground, He went through several hand signs before slamming his hand on the ground. 5 marks spread through the ground into the locations that the clone had taken away the kunai in. It took a few moments, but marks attached to the kunai against Naruto. He then looked up in the sky. "I have secured the area around us," he said. "Your use of this seal is really useful," Itachi said. "We don't have to stay up all night keeping watch, just in case something happened." As Naruto placed the wood sticks in front of them and snapped his finger as they burst into flames. "You think Orochimaru will be in the group?" "Possibly," Itachi said. "It's possible that he's merely taking out his experiments for a test run. He has been doing that recently. It is really despicable. I wonder why we even allow him to continue to exist in Naruto. Oh well, we just have to stop these people from crossing the borders of the country. If we allowed something to happen, it would not reflect kindly on us. The village that depend on us for protection will question if we're strong enough to protect them, even with Kumo and stone on our shoulders. We have to stand strong," Itachi said. "These allies we have support us financially, and we are able to stay afloat because of the financial support. Without that, we can't survive." "Clear enough," said Naruto. "What do we do if we come across Orochimaru?" "The information given to us doesn't say much. The fact that Orochimaru force would be crossing the borders, that was all. How do we deal with it if we're facing him?" They were not going to underestimate the snake Sannin, even though they were powerful themselves. The despicable snake was a Sannin, and that was something respectful in this world. "I would prefer not to take him alone," Itachi said. "But you are more suitable in fighting in large numbers, so I will hold him until you deal with the numbers, and we take him out." Naruto nodded. "Agreed then," he said. The next morning, at the border, as Naruto was on a tree branch waiting for Itachi to return, they had split up to do some scouting as Itachi had took the sound, and Naruto had turned into the land of hot water. They had to first confirm the location of their enemies before setting out, and planning how they were going to go about it. A couple of crows appeared beside Naruto and informed Itachi upper body. "I've located them. There are about 20 shinobis. They're being led by Orochimaru number 2, and an unknown man. There's no sign of Orochimaru though." "Where are they?" said Naruto. "Face the direction of the border and head 10 o'clock. They are about 2 to 3 minutes away. It depends on how fast you move." Naruto nodded as he took off with Itachi. Kabuto smiled as he saw Itachi appear before him. It was just as Orochimaru had predicted. With anything that concerned his Sannin, the fourth would send his best sleep to handle problems, and who was better than Itachi to come before him? Sending other shinobis just sent into their deaths. It was a death sentence. Kabuto pushed his glasses up as he pulled his bingo book. Itachi Uchiha, S-rank, shinobi of Konoha, currently acting as a Jonin, and former Anbu commander, a prodigy of the Uchiha clan, and awakened the Mangita Sharingan at the age of 12. Itachi merely watched him his Sharingan as he analyzed the enemies in front of them. It was not a surprise that Kabuto had known things that was not known by many, his rank in Anbu, and that he awakened the Mangita by 12. Orochimaru was a resourceful snake, that was a known fact. "Kabuto Yakushi," Itachi said calmly. "I cannot allow you to proceed any further," he said. Kabuto laughed slightly. "We have to wait for one more," he says. He wagged his finger. "So you know I'm not alone," said Itachi. "Of course," Kabuto said. "He should be arriving at any moment now." 2 seconds later, Naruto landed on his right side. "Not a party I would enjoy," said Naruto. "Yo, Kabuto, you look pretty healthy. I was sure I wrecked you pretty hard." Well, I can do it again." Laughter came out of nowhere as Orochimaru appeared. "Now that everyone has appeared, we can begin," Orochimaru said. As Naruto looked towards Itachi, "We will go as planned." As he took off towards the enemies, fire style. Fireball Jutsu! The place got hot as Naruto released his fireball as he threw 2 kunais into it as the shinobis scatter. Naruto formed a single hand sign as the kunais exploded. A chain of explosion that rocked through the entire place. "Disappointing," said Naruto as he looked around. "I thought that I would take out a..." He paused as he started to charge towards him. As the first one increased his speed as he launched towards Naruto. He twisted mid-air as he came down. Bam! As he slammed a kick into Naruto's arms. As Naruto found himself being sliding back a bit. "Interesting," he said. "I thought you'd find it interesting," Kabuto says. He walked behind the man that attacked Naruto. "This is Kimimaro. He has a unique ability that you will find hard to break. He's a good opponent for someone like you." As Naruto looked at his hands, "Why are they retreating?" he asked. "Times are tough," Kabuto said. "You can't just throw your pieces in the battlefield. There are a lot of enemies, so these pieces must be preserved when possible. Besides, we want you for ourselves." There was the fact that Naruto could just cleave through those men in a couple of seconds, just like his father would, and Kabuto knew that it couldn't hold them back So there was no point of sending those people to their deaths, when nothing will be gained in the end when you can use them for something else in the future. And Kabuto and Kimimaro didn't have to defeat Naruto. They just had to ensure that he was kept busy. Well, it would be a bonus if they could defeat the Red Head. Orochimaru would be most pleased by it. As Naruto looked off for Itachi had made his way off with Orochimaru. "I dislike false information," he said. "Orochimaru definitely want Itachi. I won't ask why because you're gonna waste my time." "I wouldn't have told you either way," Kabuto said. "Then again, it changes nothing if I tell you," he said. "How does it feel though? Often, you're left in the shadow of Itachi. I heard that your purpose is to be the best, but often, you're left in Itachi's shadow when you're measured up to him. Even now, Orochimaru-sama doesn't want you. He wants Itachi." Naruto simply smiled. "Mind games. They never bore you, do they?" he asked. "They are always fun," said Kabuto. "You are never fun though. Really. You are a boring person. Especially when you hide your eyes, never changing your mask. Is it true that you hide your eyes because you have an insane look in them?" Naruto pulled his blade. He was done talking as he vanished. He appeared in front of Kimimaro, blade coming down towards Kimimaru's neck. Kimimaro brought out both of his hands as he placed them in a cross position. As Naruto's blade clashed against the man's hands, but they did not cut through. It made a strange sound, like he had hit something hard. Naruto was sure that it was not flesh that stopped his blade. Something like that was impossible. Bones came from his palms as Naruto jumped back. As he dashed towards Naruto, he closed the distance as he stabbed the bone on his left hand, right towards Naruto's chest. As Naruto moved back slightly to avoid being stabbed, the moment his foot touched back down, his blade caught on fire as he shot forward. As Naruto slapped towards Kimimaro's left shoulder, Kimimaro blocked it with his bone sword, but it was pushed back by the force. Naruto did not attack any further. He just straightened himself up as he looked back at Kabuto. "This is a bit troublesome," he said. "It requires time and I do not have the time to waste for this. For someone that as famous as you are, you don't appear that strong. Are you trash?" Kimimaro asked, speaking for the first time. As Naruto created a clone after sheathing his blade that rushed towards Kabuto, he then threw three, as one of them were hidden in the shadows of the kunai. Kimimaro blocked all three of them with a smirk. Did he really think that would catch him off guard? As Naruto threw a last one, as Kimimaro blocked the third one into the ground, the thing exploded, blowing Kimimaro away. The moment his foot touched down, a massive roaring flame came towards him as he jet bone all out of his body, crossing his arms in front of him. The flames washed over him, but they did nothing more than just burn his clothing, as his body was protected by the bones. Kimimaro then felt his movements restricted as the fire was just a diversion, as chains tightly wrapped around his body. But he did not look surprised. "Do you think something like this will hold me down?" he said. He produced more and more bones, but the chains did not budge, not even an inch. "This is a first. I cannot squash you like a little bug," said Naruto. "Well, it is fine, as long as you stay there for a minute." As he held out his right hand, fire style, a ball of flame appeared in his right palm. 5 other flames appeared around that as he spun them, before hurling it right towards Kimimaro. The jutsu exploded when it made contact into a large flaming dome. As Naruto did not wait to see what happened, he turned away to head towards Itachi, but he had to duck. A Rasengan formed in his hand in a second as he slammed it into Kabuto's stomach. Kabuto crashed into the ground as Naruto quickly made his way towards Itachi. Kabuto frowned as he slowly mended his injuries. "Well, we held him off as long as we could." As he turned over to see Kimimaro on his knees, badly, terribly burned. A normal person would have burned to crisp, died by that jutsu, but yet Kimimaro was still alive. But he wouldn't be alive for any longer after all. The man was more skeleton than skin. As Kabuto saw the bones, not his technique, but his actual bones. He was gonna die eventually, as Kabuto raised his hand. Earlier, with Itachi had his Sharingan activated as he looked towards the snake Sani. Orochimaru on the other hand looked calm and collected. He even looked into Itachi's eyes, not afraid to look at the Sharingan. Then again, Orochimaru was not like normal people around. Everything about the Sani was abnormal. With how things had played out, Itachi had little doubt that this wasn't Orochimaru's plan. The Sani wanted to be alone with him. "Orochimaru, what do you want?" asked Itachi. "Don't be so hasty, Itachi-kun," Orochimaru said, as he folded his arms across his chest. "Are you worried about your partner? Do you think he will join us quickly?" Inwardly, Itachi shook his head. Naruto's reputation going on one-on-one against someone wasn't that great. It wasn't that Naruto has ever been defeated since he became a shinobi. Yes, that was right. Ever since Naruto became a shinobi, no one has ever defeated him. No one knew the full extent of his power or what he could really do, because no one had ever pushed him to that limit before. Another problem was Naruto did not engage in battle about people that he did not know about. You people have not seen the full extent of Naruto's power, Itachi said calmly. Well, that worked for him anyway. To answer your question, no, I'm not worried about him. He will be joining us quickly. Orochimaru looked curious. Last time he faced Kabuto, he didn't do anything impressive, although he did defeat him. Naruto's specialty has always been against the masses. That jutsu that he used is only useful against numbers anyway. Perhaps being an armed killer fits him better. One-on-one, there is nothing really special about him. Itachi was going to say anything about that. There was a lot more that people did not know about Naruto, and it was fine. Naruto did not fail to kill Kabuto, he could have if he wanted to. The equation was simple. Naruto did not want to fight Kabuto. The redhead was never one to be forced into a battle that he is not prepared to fight. Shall we then, Itachi said, as he took his stance. If you came for what I think you came for, you will fail, as you did before. Orochimaru laughed. You think so? The two dashed towards each other with immense speed. Once the distance was cut, they jumped, as two brutal kicks connected in mid-air. Orochimaru held out his right hand as he released multiple snakes towards Itachi's face. As Itachi flashed away and landed, the moment he did, Orochimaru's feet crashed in front of him as Orochimaru's left foot was still in the air, whipping towards Itachi's head. Itachi ducked under the kick as he tried to sweep Orochimaru's leg away, but Orochimaru brought up his other feet, twisting his body in mid-air, as he landed on both of his hands, sending his feet directly towards Itachi's head. Itachi jumped in the air as he went through hand sign, fire style. Great Dragon Breath Jutsu, he said. Crimson flames slammed right into Orochimaru as it turned into a massive explosion. When the jutsu dispersed, there was no sign of Orochimaru. Great Wind Breakthrough, Orochimaru suddenly said behind Itachi. Powerful gusts of winds ripped through the earth as they shot straight towards Itachi, as debris all over picked up before slamming right into Itachi. Itachi flipped several times in the air as he landed on the ground. Orochimaru was upon him in a second, with a flying kick weaving through the sky. Itachi dodged the kick by moving back, as Orochimaru released a torrent of snakes once again. Without even weaving hand signs, Itachi released flames from his mouth. The flames burned all the snakes as Orochimaru jumped away. So it is true, Orochimaru said. You can wield fire style jutsus without hand sign. They say that Naruto's control of the element is greater than anyone else. Can he do it? Like you can? Who knows, Itachi said, as he rushed towards Orochimaru going through hand sign. Fire style. Phoenix flower, he says he released multiple fireballs from his mouth. Orochimaru vanished as he reappeared, but as he did a kunai, cut his cheek as Itachi flashed in, holding onto his blade. But Orochimaru's right hand transformed into snakes and shot towards Itachi's face. With one swing, Itachi cut right through the snakes, as Orochimaru's neck extended beyond the limits of a normal human, shot in towards Itachi. As Itachi Mangekyo Sharingan flared to life, as Orochimaru bit down into his neck and laughed. He realized he was not getting jutsu as he quickly dispelled it, right after his head was sliced off, as Itachi stomped right in his chest as his body crashed into the ground. As Itachi turned towards the head, Orochimaru, before my eyes, all of your ninjutsus are worthless. Orochimaru hissed dangerously. This was an embarrassment he will never forget. Those crimson eyes looking down at him like he was nothing but a flea. Orochimaru was furious. A child, his prey, looking down on him like he was worthless. Snakes burst from Orochimaru's neck and went to connect with his body as Orochimaru stood up. Itachi did not do anything as Orochimaru was stabbed right through the back, tearing through his chest. The left side by Naruto. Orochimaru hissed dangerously as he narrowed his eyes behind him. This was not expected. How his redhead was able to get behind him without him noticing. He looked unharmed, not even a single scratch. What happened to Kabuto and Kimimaro? Sonya-like reflexes, said Naruto. I was hoping to get your heart. Where are my manners? Apologies for being late, you low-life scum. As Naruto's sword burst into flames, making a hole in Orochimaru's chest. As Naruto grabbed his right hand, Orochimaru tried to move his left, but Itachi grabbed it as he sliced both of his arms off. Orochimaru slipped away from them as he reappeared, even without his arm and a hole in his chest. He looked at them. Well, he was cut off as Naruto appeared and sliced right down him with a burst of speed. Itachi appeared above Naruto and drive a brutal kick into Orochimaru's face. Orochimaru crashed face first through a tree as he hissed and got back up. How did you get behind me? Without me noticing, he said. Well, this might not be known, but I'm actually a lot faster without even using that jutsu. My speed rival my father's when he's not using the Harashin. Lying down like that suits you better than walking like a human. You pathetic animal, said Naruto. Orochimaru opened his mouth as another Orochimaru slicked right out of it. He didn't dare to look at Itachi's eyes as he moved back. What happened to Kabuto? Alive. The other one, I don't know. I underestimate you too, Orochimaru said. We will have to do this again some other time. Orochimaru disappears. Naruto flashed in front of him. I've been watching my father disappear with the Harashin since I was young. Predicting your moves a little bit tricky, but nothing. Orochimaru exploded right in front of Naruto. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was completely unharmed. He got away, said Naruto. Pursuing would be a waste, Itachi said, with the Sharingan deactivated. Yes, said Naruto. I guess we should leave. We should rest at the border of the Fire Country before separating. I still have to go to Kiri. It is still morning. I have to be at sea by evening. With Orochimaru. Kabuto saw the look in Orochimaru's eyes. They were angry, like he was ready to murder someone in cold blood without even thinking about it. He could only assume that things didn't go as planned and he'd fail, just like how he failed with Chisui back then. Perhaps things went worse this time. Last time he didn't look this wounded, emotionally. It was possible that he was embarrassed. Orochimaru was a Sannin. He was the strongest of the Sannins, but those two were S-rank, and only a few people could fight them head on, and that included Kage's. Kabuto had witnessed Itachi's power firsthand. There was no doubting Itachi's power, but Naruto was secretive. Aside from his teleportation, chakra chains, and his master over fire, there was nothing more said about him. Kabuto always suspected that there was more to the red head than what. The entire world knew about him. What are you thinking, Kabuto? Orochimaru asked, with narrowed eyes. Kabuto shook his head. Was Naruto able to interfere, Orochimaru-sama? He asked. Curse that brat. I underestimate him and Itachi. But you two should have been able to hold him back. What happened, Kabuto? Why did you fail? When it became apparent that we were holding him back, he managed to do this, Kabuto said, as he pointed at roasted, well, what was left of Kimmaru. The jutsu used should have been able to turn to ash, but in this state, there is no hope for him. This would only be good for experiments. Why don't we know everything about Naruto's skill? Orochimaru demanded, not caring about Kimmaru at the moment. He has not been fighting stronger opponents, one-on-one in the past years. He has been deployed to fight numbers, and in that situation against numbers, he used that jutsu of his to end the battle in minutes. When faced with normal shinobi, he used his sword and taijutsu. That means he's not using everything, even though his fire jutsus are said to be in a level stronger than anyone else. We have not seen anything special, well, until now. Also, Naruto does not engage in all battles. Unless the situation is not in his favor or unknown, he won't be the one to take the attack against you. He attacks when he's forced to, or when he has other things to handle and you're in his way. During my last encounter, defending was all that he was doing before I made a mistake. And since you can't read him at all, it's hard to tell if he's holding back or not. Orochimaru became thoughtful. Go to Konoha and find out everything that you can. Kabuto measured his words carefully before he spoke. How do you think so really? He asked. Time skip. 2 days later, Kiri, Mizukage's office. The 5th Mizukage couldn't have been any more pleased when she heard that Naruto entered the border of her village. She had told the envoys to bring him straight here. There was no word of his visit, but she was happy he was here. He must have a reason for coming here. After all, there were pressing matters for Konoha to deal with. For him to leave his village and come play around. When was the last time she saw him? Yes, a year ago. When she went to visit Konoha on official business, she had requested his presence, because she wanted to see the boy that did something good for her side, alongside his father. It was expected for Minato to dominate the battlefield, but it was not expected for a 12-year-old. Mei was forever grateful for the efforts he put in, and the sacrifice the 4th Hokage made for bringing his son on the battlefield. Their effort had brought a great displease to their enemies and forced them to surrender. Yagura didn't like that at all, but Mei and her man were able to take care of him. If it had been an all-out war with her man, if it wasn't for Minato and his son, Kiri would have been still ruled by Yagura the tyrant. That is why the both of them displayed their power in the battlefield, and the enemy realized the fear and gave up instantly. She smiled delightfully as he sat down in front of her. She really liked how he styled his hair. She was disappointed to find out that his father was married. She did try something back then, but she had been turned down. But when she came there a year ago and saw him, the man that he has grown into, well, she was pleased. You will have to forgive me for coming here unexpectedly, Mizukage-sama. If I had time, I would have warned you of my prior visit. His eyes, though partially open, were looking at her fully. What a delight she was. Being a shinobi, Naruto traveled a lot, and he did meet various women, all over. It was really hard to say that this one was the most beautiful, if he was being honest. Every woman had something special about them. Physical beauty was all there to see, but there was a something that picked every woman apart from each other. May waved him off. Don't bother, she said. You and your father are always welcome here. You are part of the force that fought for the freedom that we now enjoy. Well, I'm glad to hear that, said Naruto. Please refer to me as me. This is not a formal meeting or anything. Although I can't see your eyes. I know that you're staring at me, she said. Naruto tilted his head to the side. Are you offended? May shook her head. But, do you like what you see, she asked. It is not often that you meet independent women that are not only powerful, but gorgeous, said Naruto. I will take the compliment, she said. I doubt you came here for a social call though. I wish to rebuild Uzu, he said. You're heading back to Uzu, she asked. He shook his head. Not at all. I phrased it wrongly. I wish to make some constructions in Uzu. The island is surrounded by sea and has some wonderful beaches. The land is also vast. My clan is not the richest. And if we're going to increase our numbers, we need money to handle everything. The Uzumakis can't compete with other clans in Konoha, in terms of riches at least. May looked thoughtful. Konoha may be strengthening, but the Uzumaki clan wasn't getting more powerful. She heard some of the brightest seal masters were killed on their way to a mission. Naruto was the clan's only powerful asset. May could understand why he was worried. That gave her a thought. I know that you're the clan here, preparing for your new job. I have been made clan head, said Naruto. As troublesome as it is, I must ensure I do all I can to make sure that Uzumaki clan survive. As it stands, we're not heading towards a good path. We're heading towards a fall. This is why I've taken measures to make sure our future is secure. May nodded. What do you want from Kiri? If it is money, you know my position. Although I wish I can help, I cannot. I don't want that kind of help, said Naruto. I just wish to make a business deal with you. I would have gone to the Wave Country or the port in Fire Nation, but I would like to make business with you. Kiri has marine shinobis who are able to fight in the sea. I will need that, and maybe 2 or 3 ships, of course. It will all be paid for. I want to build farms, maybe 3 or 4, and a few hotels. Once the farms start to produce, I will need ships to transport the products, and also, I need customers. What are you going to be farming? I will get to that once I return to Konoha, but in terms of ship and marines, can I count on you, Naruto asked. If you are paying, yes. That will be good business for my village. I need all the money to make sure that this village can survive. Not everything grew well in this village because of the climate conditions, so if you're offering a good deal, yes, she said. Oh, that is settled, said Naruto as he got to his feet. I will leave you to your work. You're leaving? She asked. He shook his head. I'm going to get something to eat, book a room, and later on, enjoy the pleasures of this village to calm my mind. I've been having a lot inside my head lately. Jiraiya has some good review in the village. I think it might be good. At the thought of the sound in May frowned, but she shook it off quickly. I'm offended, she said. Don't be me, said Naruto. I didn't say I would enjoy the pleasures of this village with anyone else. May smiled as he opened his eyes partially. You have such beautiful eyes. Why do you hide them, she asked. What is beautiful should not be revealed to all eyes, he said. It must be kept present and hidden, and revealed in front of the right people, he said. I will wait on your offer to see what you can produce. But please, she said, I have something to inform you. It is good that you came here anyway. I wouldn't have the time to come to Konoha to give the message. As Naruto sat down, what is it? I have been approached by both the Hidden Stone and Kumo, she said. Their messengers have been coming here for a while now. The Raikage even offered a political marriage with his younger brother, to prove that he will not do what he tried with Konoha. I see, said Naruto. It was a surprise that the Raikage was willing to go that far to secure Kiri alliance, to offer his beloved brother for marriage. That was a big card Konoha had yet to think of. Well, he could be wrong. He didn't get involved in those kind of politics. Both those villages has been getting in a fuss when Konoha got involved with Kiri and took the side of the rebels. Know that Kiri had come out on top after the help of Konoha. Those people wanted to ally with it. Those hypocrites after they turned them down for help. Is that all? May asked. As he didn't seem like he was about to say anything else other than I see. I don't know what to say, he said. I don't represent Konoha in any diplomatic talks. I figure I would be involved now since I gained a seat in the village council, he said. Nevertheless, she said, you're a shinobi of Konoha and an important figure in the village. This does affect you, she said. You fought with your father to help us win a war. Your village has helped us rebuild. I do not wish to Betray the friendship. Naruto smiled. That makes you a lot more attractive, he said. There are so many people in this world that will stab you in the back when you're not looking without a second thought. The thought of betrayal aside, I'm sure they offered Kiri a rather appealing offer for the alliance. May nodded. It would make sense to agree with some of the things they offered in the proposed alliance. But I cannot make a decision knowing that Konoha is not in good terms with those villages. But there's nothing in the alliance that said I can't form a treaty with those villages. Naruto sighed. He really didn't like having these discussions. What I can say is do what is best for your village. But watch out, because if things are not solved anytime soon, there will be a war, and you don't want to betray the one side for another. We have managed to avoid major incidents, but nothing has changed. What do you think I should do, she asks. Give me your personal thought on the matter. I will do what is best for my people, and not forget the people that helped me in my times of need. Personally, I'm not very fond of Kumo, but I hold no grudges. That is why I will say this to you. You have no problem with both villages. Konoha has a problem with them. Nevertheless, you should be careful who you invite for dinner. The Raikage has shown that he does not care about treaties signed on paper, and Kiri has bloodlines. You are a rare person yourself, holding two bloodlines. May sighed. Her village could survive without them, but she didn't want to make enemies out of those leaders. She wanted to be in peace with those that she could. She wanted to be in peace with all she could, but Kiri could not be in peace with everyone in the Elemental Nation. But she could not afford to invite troubles towards his village. These people have seen too much bloodshed already. They needed their rest. Naruto planning also worked great for her. If he started now, perhaps they could enjoy things in December or January. Her village could depend on him for vegetables, because Kiri's climate condition wasn't good at all. There were other things that she would gain. He had a whole island for farming. His plan could solve the food problem. I will formally write to Mizukage and I will hand over the scroll to you before you leave, she said calmly. I just have to strengthen my ties with Konoha, so if I do enter a treaty with Kumo or the Stone, I can make it clear who my friends are. Naruto nodded. Anything else? May shook her head later then. Naruto smiled. Yes. I wouldn't want to miss it, he said. It is still a bit early. I want to take a nap and then later on release a bit. Can you tell me a private training ground, he asked. I have one behind my house, she said. You can go rest there if you don't mind. I will be glad if you take that offer. Time skip later, at May's house. Training ground. Ayo was surprised Naruto turned into the training ground. He had been given a job to watch over his head as a Mizukage, important guest. What had surprised him was not Naruto sleeping through the entire afternoon, after he said he just want to take a nap. The surprise was what his Byakugan showed him. Naruto was controlling the water element with ease. The only element Naruto said to control was fire, but he was controlling the water element with nothing but ease. Ayo opened the latest manga book, but there was nothing about Naruto being a water user. He shook his head. He really should not be surprised by this though. Shinobis had their secrets and not everyone wanted everything about them to be published. How are things going, May asked as she walked towards Ayo, who was standing aside from the training ground watching Naruto train. May-sama, well, he seemed to be testing jutsus. They seem to be new creations. I see. You can go home, Ayo. I'll handle things here. Ayo looked at his leader for a moment. He wanted to say something but she did not wait for him as she just walked off, going straight towards Naruto. Ayo didn't suspect Naruto of anything bad, although he did think that Uzumaki was a bit creepy sometimes. He didn't think there would be any harm done if he left the two alone. The redhead was a Mizukage son, and he wouldn't do anything to destroy their reputation. Besides that, Konoha current leadership was trustworthy. Without saying anything, Ayo left the training ground. The last time I came to Konoha, you were also training. Don't you get enough of it? Asked me. As Naruto turned towards her, this atmosphere is a lot better for water ninjutsu, he said. I find it quite easy to execute jutsus here. Given this ease, I just could not afford to let this chance slip. Water, huh? Me asked, as she looked at Naruto carefully. She had never seen him fight a ninjutsu battle before. During his time here, he only used those chains of his to restrict Yagura when she was on the field. When he released the Biju from inside of him, Naruto had restrained Biju with some powerful chains. Well, he did use one jutsu with his father, a calibration jutsu. Most people do not know I use the water ninjutsu. I do not use it in a fight. I favor the fire. Why, she asks. It's not destructive enough for my liking. It can be sharp as wind, depending on level of control, but I already have my sword for that. With fire, it can burn all lot of things, and incinerate a lot more. Water doesn't. Land and knockout punch for me. This is why I prefer fire, he said. The way he spoke about burning made her a bit uncomfortable, but she did not say anything about it. She thought that perhaps she may be seeing things, and it was a bit too early to judge. How good is your control over water, she asked. Good enough, said Naruto. You're a footing user, am I correct? What of it, said me? The elements used to make advanced futon is made from the collaboration of water and fire. My control over both elements is exceptional. While I understand that boil releases the bloodline, it should not be impossible if my control is completely leveled. Lava is made up of fire and earth. What makes it possible for me to use some jutsus is because my fire is extremely hot. I can even say it's special. However, I cannot reach your level in this regard because it is not natural for me. Me thought about it for a moment. It wasn't impossible for one to use lava or boil without a bloodline, but it was extremely rare. Perhaps if the control over both elements were perfect down to the last letter, then it was possible. Can you use a sub-element, she asks. Naruto went through hand signs, he slammed his right hand into the ground. Mei was forced to move back as she saw the ground, releasing steam. Crimson liquid burst on the earth. When it died down, the ground was filled with it, with the crimson liquid bubbling over like lava. As Naruto was unaffected by it was affecting her. As she went through hands and released a large amount of water from her mouth that swallowed the training ground. Despite there being so much water, it started to boil and bubble. This caused me to frown, but she didn't say anything, as she waited until the water disappeared. Lava? She said. Something like that, said Naruto. The mechanics behind the jutsu is simple. Since my fire element is abnormal, I release it through the ground. In full power, naturally the ground will try to dissolve it. Plus the earth, it turned to lava. I could use it in a wider era, but it consumes a lot of chakra. However, it benefits me greatly because I can manipulate the lava into jutsu. Without something like that, I cannot use lava. At the same time, it makes water useless. I see. What about boil release? Me asks. That is difficult, but I can use one jutsu. But it's not something for me to boast about. Can I see it? She asks. The jutsu I did to my father. Can you still remember it? Naruto asks. It was just another version of that jutsu. There's actually 4 of them. One is just wind. It was used by my father, and the 2 others are known only by me. He wasn't going to show her, me realize. Well, she will eventually see it. You're a lot more knowledgeable about ninjutsu than you're giving credit for. Ninjutsu is actually my specialty. I excel in it, said Naruto. I avoid using too much because it drains chakra. For someone like me, you must always be ready when you're outside of your village, said Naruto. As he walked towards me, he stopped inches away from her as he opened his eyes fully. Will you show me where I can clean myself? I'm rather sweaty. Mei smiled as she twisted. Portions of her hair hit him in the face. Follow me, she said. And he did. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below and turn on the bell notifications they posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was abandoned and awakened at Kiki Genkai over an anime king 2. And enjoy that, guys. And also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was neglected with Jashin sealed inside of him over an anime king 3. And enjoy that, guys. And also remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice and you enjoyed videos on both Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And yeah, without further ado, I'm all for now. See you guys soon. Peace.